Good afternoon. Welcome to the Endtime Watchman News Network. I hope everything finds you well on this Friday afternoon. I'm loaded up for this 20-something minutes I got left here. I want to welcome everybody that has come by today. I've got a serious topic that I wish to discuss with you today. I want to go and quote the Constitution of the United States. I want to quote the Constitution of the United States, actually the Second Amendment in the Constitution of the United States. A well-regulated militia being necessary to secure the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. In other words, don't mess with it, you see. But as you'll find out as I read here today, you will find out that the Garden State, New Jersey, it has some of the toughest gun laws in the country. They have gun control laws, bar none. If you want to read the link of it, it's going to be nj.com. The article was actually published November 28, 2011 about the gun laws. Okay. But Trenton Education Association, TEA Chief Naomi Johnson LaFleur, says New Jersey's gun laws and gun control laws are among the strongest in the country. And according to this woman, the New Jersey people like the gun control laws. They like them being strong. They like the restriction of weapons. In other words, they like, according to her assessment, the New Jersey people like being stripped of the constitutional rights to be able to protect themselves. And she said there's been no significant attempt to weaken them since 1992. She said when a Republican-controlled legislature tried to repeal the state's pioneering ban on weapons, Governor Jim Flores vetoed the effort. Well, old Governor Jim vetoed the effort to take the restrictions and ease the restrictions so that people would have the ability to carry in New Jersey. And I don't mean a pack of cigarettes, to carry their pistol. So anyway, it says that 2 weeks ago the House approved 272-154 bill that would require any state that issues permits to carry concealed firearms to recognize similar licenses held by visitors from other states, no matter how different the permitting requirements might be. 7 Democratic representatives voted against this National Rifle Association-sponsored attack on their state's right to determine its own public safety. So anyway, what we have here is a major restriction. And by the way, I wouldn't live there for $20 trillion a year employment. I wouldn't live in that hellish war zone called New Jersey or New York either. You see, they don't want the people to be able to defend themselves. So they pass draconian laws. And the results of these draconian laws that literally strip the Second Amendment from the New Jersey people results in things like I'm fixing to tell you in just a few minutes. But again, the Constitution states a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep bear arms, shall not be infringed. But now let me get to the article, the tragic article, to show you the result of the liberal, ungodly, wicked, demonic people that are controlling the state of New Jersey. Let me show you the result, and they are just as guilty as the man that did it. Now, this article, all you got to do is look up New Jersey man accused of sexually assaulting women after targeting couples, CBS, New York. Okay? New Jersey man accused of sexually assaulting women after targeting couples at motels. This predator forced men into the bathroom before assaulting the women. Now, before I go any further, you have to ask yourself, because it was introduced to me, I asked myself, could it have happened on my watch back when we used to travel across the United States? And immediately the answer was no, it wouldn't have, because the guy would have been in Clay County pushing up daisies. And I'll tell you why. Because when we used to travel across the United States, I would have a pocket pistol, a fold-up .22 Magnum. I would have a .40 caliber Springfield XD hanging on my left side because I'm left-handed. I would have a 9mm fold-up rifle between the seats. I would have a shotgun under the back seat, AR-15 in the luggage. So that being said, every time we did stop at the hotel, they would be dispersed in safe places among where I myself and my wife could get to them within seconds. So see, the guy would have looked like a piece of Swiss cheese when the coroner came if he would have attempted this on me. You see, because it ain't that I'm afraid of anything or anybody. I only fear God. I don't fear man. But it's that I know that man, in and of himself, can become very, very wicked and violent. And therefore, it is my duty to put an end and a stop to that violence at whatever means of force is necessary to protect my family and myself. So therefore, I go back to the article, and I preface the article by talking about new laws and the way that they lack the gun control, and they restrict the people from carrying. They have to, only police can carry the pistols the way I understand it, or they have to prove a security officer or police or something like that, or they have to prove that it is urgent that they be able to tote a pistol in New Jersey. So that being said, in Elizabeth, New Jersey, authorities have arrested a New Jersey man accused of targeting couples headed to motels and forcing them to have sex before he turns around and sexually assaults the female victim after they have sex. Then he puts the man in the bathroom, and then he rapes, they say sexually assault, he rapes the woman. And there are multiple things going on here, multiple women. Union County prosecutors said Rashid Powell, 36, targeted couples at motels in Linden and Elizabeth on weekend nights for a period of 6 weeks. For a period of 6 weeks, this torture took place. Oh, and by the way, as we'll read in the article, their so-called gun control laws did not stop this lunatic named Powell from doing what he did. But it goes on to say that Powell would force his way into the room at gunpoint. In other words, the gun control laws didn't stop this evil piece of junk, but it only stopped the moral citizen from being able to protect themselves. But anyway, Powell would force them at gunpoint and force them to engage in sex, and then order the male into the bathroom and sexually assaulting his wife and raping her, according to First Assistant Prosecutor Albert Cernatus, Jr. The assaults took place at the Swan Motel and Benedict Motel in Linden, as well as Spring Lane Motel and the Royal Motel in Elizabeth. Now, let me take a drink of water here. Hold on. And I've got to ask the people in America, who do you believe, other than this demon-possessed guy named Powell, who do you believe is also co-conspirators in what took place in this tragedy that happened in New Jersey? Multiple tragedies at that. I believe that the governor, and I believe that every person that helped to pass these gun laws has a part of guilt in this situation. I absolutely believe it with all my heart. Now, some may say that I'm wrong, but let's back up for a minute. If the restrictions were not there, and the Second Amendment was still thriving, don't you believe there would be a change of mentality, and there would be the ability for a person to be able to tote a sidearm to protect his family in New Jersey and not having to worry about some donut-eating fat cop wanting to arrest him because he just happened to have a weapon on him? Don't you believe that if the Second Amendment were upheld, that somehow or another possibly this could have never took place? Because, as I said before, if they were allowed to carry their sidearms, then maybe 10 counts of first-degree sexual aggravated assault and another 10 counts of first-degree aggravated assault, 2 counts of first-degree attempted aggravated assault, 12 counts of first-degree robbery, 6 counts of second-degree possession of a weapon for an unlawful purpose. Could have been averted. Now, this guy might have got, Powell, instead of being able to rape the 10 women, tragically destroying them mentally, probably for life. God can heal them, but they really going to have to do some praying and seeking the face of God to get this behind them. But it still should have been stopped before it ever happened. At the first attempt, Powell should have been shot between the eyes, drug out of the hotel, picked the phone up, called the coroner, starting the headlights on the hearse, and bury him out there in the middle of a dumpster somewhere in the trash bin. That's where he belongs. I told you this would be hard-hitting news. You ain't going to hear this on another network. But investigators said they knew of at least 6 occasions, including 2 attacks last week when the incidents happened. They say that Powell is clearly a sexual predator who acted quickly and viciously. Now listen to this. Hernandez Jr. said the efficient cooperation of several law enforcement agencies was able to connect the dots between the crimes and efficiently work toward identifying the suspect